Welcome to Uptown Voices. From Harlem to the Heights to the northern tip of Inwood, we're here to celebrate our people and together seek solutions for the difficult issues we're all confronting as neighbors. Regardless of what hood you represent, we share the same goal, creating the best community we can, somewhere to enjoy, where we can build our lives and raise our children. We want to thank 181 Cabrini, located on the corner of 181st Street and Cabrini Boulevard, for its generous support for this podcast. It's your neighborhood bistro just steps away from the North Walk of the GWB. Stay tuned for a discount code that you can mention to your bartender or server the next time you visit the restaurant. We also need financial contributions from listeners like you to produce, improve, and expand our content. To contribute, please scan the QR code on the screen or visit www.livingamericana.com. That's living without a G.
What up, everyone? It's Led Black, and we're here for another Uptown Voices, another Black and Blanco experience. Led Black and Octavio Blanco, no guests, just chopping it up, the two of us. You know, and I think it's important, too, because, you know, one of the things I realized about the podcast, we're like, how many episodes in now? 13, 12 episodes in?
It's 12. Yeah, this is, well, we got one queued up. That's going to be 13, and then this was D14.
So we got a bunch in, and the thing is that we just jump right into it with our guests, right? Because it's really about our guests and the Uptown Voices and talking about what they're doing. So these kind of let us talk and chop it up, which I think is super important, man. But how you been, brother?
Yeah, I've been great. I agree with you that it's like, I love these Black and Blancos because we can just like talk about ourselves a little bit, which we don't get a chance to do. And I know that I like to talk. And I know that you like to talk, so this is a good opportunity for us to blow off some steam because I think we really do be respectful of the guests when they come on to make it about them, you know, what they're doing, because there's such amazing guests that we've had on doing so many incredible things. By the time this airs, our interview with Calixto Chinchilla of the New York Latino Film Festival will have aired. That guy's a beast. I mean, he's Diesel, man. He looks Diesel, but I mean, also just a beast in his industry. Talking about people who pull themselves up by their bootstraps. That old refrain. I mean, that's Calixto right there. He made something out of nothing, and he's killing it right now with the New York Latino Film Festival, which you are an integral part of, right, Led?
Yeah. I'm the social media director for the festival. I've been with the festival since it came back. There was a hiatus of like some years. But since it came back, I've been rocking with Calixto. But Calixto and I have been, you know, working together now over a decade. And, you know, it's a good relationship, you know what I mean? I get to kind of like play the back a bit, watch him lead, learn, you know, grow. And it's a lot, I like to say the festival is this like really heavy stress environment. Like you're not really sleeping well, you're working really hard. You're doing a lot of really cool with a lot of cool people, but it's a grind, but you develop a camaraderie. So the festival is one of the best things I do every year. I really enjoy it. You know, it's one of those things that again is super tiring, but super rewarding, super fulfilling. So I'm looking forward to it. And Calixto, he's the man. You know, we've been in the trenches together. You know, we've done a lot of really cool things. Like I said, we say in that episode, I got to meet Juan Liguerra. We did an event with Juan Liguerra, who's a Dominican icon, arguably the greatest Dominican artist, musician of all time. So, you know, it's really cool, and I'm really looking forward to September 13th to the 21st, and we end the 21st with a Dykeman Block Party, a bunch of really cool stuff that I just can't say yet, you know what I mean? But stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff.
And if you're an aspiring filmmaker or if you're a filmmaker, keep an eye on Latino Film Festival on Instagram and all the other socials, and definitely get yourself tickets because it's affordable. It's made to be affordable for the people. And one of the things that I appreciated from our conversation with Calixto, and one of the things that really I don't think often gets mentioned, like besides the representation side of things, which I think is super, super important. Props to you, props to Calixto, props to everybody, because representation is absolutely needed. But there's also this other facet that happens, which is business. Business is done. Business is conducted.
Commerce.
Commerce, like people's films get picked up by HBO, by other big players, Paramount, so it's not just about representation. Maybe in the beginning it might have been a little bit that way, but even in the beginning, I think there was deals that were being made out of the film festival. But that's one of the things that you'll see in the episode. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out because you'll learn about what goes on at these film festivals. So props to you for your work on that. Props to
Thank you.
Calixto.
And I want to say one thing I forgot to say. My oldest daughter, Imani Fuentes, has a film that will be at the festival. It's a short film. It's called Tigueronas. My daughter wrote it, directed it. And then my middle child, Layla, has the first song in that film. And then my youngest, Soraya, actually was a stylist for the whole, for the film. And my mom makes a little cameo as well. So, it's gonna be an amazing night when it world premieres in New York City. So I'm looking forward to that.
So I want to be there. I want to check it out. So.
Yeah, for sure,
So
brother.
keep me posted for sure. I want to check it out.
August 18th, I think the tickets go on sale.
Awesome. And yeah, so I just came back from my vacation.
From Paris.
Oui, bien sûr. I was in France 2 weeks. We had queued up some episodes so that our listeners who are waiting at midnight every Tuesday the next episode to drop every Tuesday at midnight with bated breath waiting for our episodes. We're gonna skip a beat. We're gonna miss an episode, but we had two episodes queued up while I was away, and I was having a really, really nice time in Paris. With my wife and my son Dante. Is my wife's first time in Europe, obviously first time in Paris, and it was my son actually is kind of a globetrotter this year. He went with his high school to England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Yeah, he did a whole week during spring break with his high school, and then came back for the first couple of weeks of summer. Went to his summer camp. He goes to a veterinarian camp out in Missouri. And then we all went to France for 2 weeks, and we had a blast. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but traveling today, I hadn't done real international travel in a long time. I mean, I go to Mexico quite often, but I don't count that as international travel. You don't really even need a passport to go there. But real international travel to Europe, it's not the same as it used to be. And I got caught out there, actually. I don't know if I told you this. So you have to be really careful with the rules of what are the requirements, especially when it comes to your passport. And if you have a passport that is still valid, sometimes that's not enough to get into a country. So, for example, this is what happened to me. I showed up at the airport with my American passport, and it was valid, but it was going to expire like a few weeks after I get back from France. But I thought, no big deal. It's going to be valid while I'm in France, and when I get back here, I'll renew it, whatever. Turns out I should have been a little bit more diligent because your passport has to be valid for, I think it's at least 6 months.
Wow.
Past the date of your arrival in the country. And they didn't let me get on the plane from JFK. My wife had her passport. My son had his passport. They were both good. But my passport wasn't good. Going to France.
Wow.
So what happens? Luck will have it. I'm actually a dual citizen with Mexico. So I have 2 passports, American and Mexican. But I hadn't brought my Mexican passport. I'd left it at home. So I did this mad dash on the day of our departure. Took the air train to the E train to the A train to 181st Street, sprinted to my apartment, grabbed my Mexican passport, walked up the apartment, sprinted back to the A train to the E train to the air train. And I got to JFK like 10 minutes late. They had closed the gate, and American Airlines didn't let me onto the airplane. It's in the rules, and they were very helpful in terms of. So we didn't get on the airplane. So we missed a day of our vacation. We all trooped it back uptown, and then the next day, because they only have one flight. American Airlines only has one flight to Paris a day. That's the other thing. If you're traveling to Paris or wherever you're traveling to, you might want to check and see how many times that airline flies to the city where you're going, because if anything happens and you miss a flight, when's the next flight? Do you have to wait a day, or do you just have to wait an hour or a couple of hours? So I didn't realize that it was just one a day, American Airlines. But the next day I went with my Mexican passport. It was valid, no problem. Got on the plane, got to Paris.
But I don't understand. That's
crazy.
Went
through.
Wild.
And I got it's. I don't know why that is. It's a French rule. It's not an American rule. I think it's like they don't want people to get stuck in France if something happens. Right. Like if you get to France and your American passport expires, and then you're kind of like in a jam. How do you get back to the States? You have to go to the
Right.
embassy or the consulate, and then that's a whole rigmarole. I mean, and passports, you can renew them quickly, expedited, but that's very expensive, and I don't know really how that works overseas. So make sure that you know all the little rules about what's needed for passport requirements and things like that. I really should have been more diligent, but I was a little bit sort of overconfident because I've traveled internationally for many years. I've gone to France many times, and I've gone to Europe all the time, and I hadn't done it in years, and I didn't realize just like how things change. But I had a great time. Everybody talks about Paris, and they say, "Oh, Parisians are so rude and they're so short." And I had a great time. They were all super nice to me. I didn't have any rude people.
Nice.
I do speak French, fluently. So I think they appreciate that. So I think there was a little bit of like gratitude there when I was speaking to folks. But yeah, we did all the sites because it was the first time for my family. We did the Louvre. We did Tour Eiffel. We took a boat trip on the River Seine. We went out to the Palace of Versailles.
Wait a minute. Why the Eiffel Tower? You said it the French way. Like that was you were flexing right there. Like that was a flex.
What? La Tour Eiffel? Is that what you wanted me to?
Yeah, you said it like all French.
Flex my French.
You got all fancy on me. I'm like, did you say the Eiffel Tower?
On a fait la Tour Eiffel. On a fait le Palace de Versailles.
Well, I think the moral of your story is get a dual citizenship if you can, because your dual citizenship saved the day. Right? Did your dual citizenship save the day for you? And so like,
absolutely.
If you get your dual citizenship, make sure you get one. I got mine when the first, like Trump presidency. My wife was like, "Nah, we getting a dual citizenship, so we got it for the whole nuclear family." And look at how handy it came in for you. It was clutch.
Absolutely, it's super important and to do. And yeah, like the political stuff. Also, it's important to have some additional safety in case it gets to that point where you have to hit the eject button, which I hope we don't have to do. I still, I gotta say, it was nice to be in France and not be in the overwhelming news cycle of all the Trump bubble. I mean, it's important. I'm not going to say that it's not. It's so important to know what's going on, but it's so overwhelming. I mean, it's like
it really is.
It is so, and it was really nice to be out of the Trump bubble. There was a little bit of that. I also sort of like stayed off of my socials as much as I could, and I didn't tune into the news hardly at all. So I really did break away a bit. And then for the second week, we actually went out to the countryside of France.
Nice.
To the Loire Valley, and
nice.
And we did. We were in a small town about 20 minutes from a city called Angers. We did this thing. It's like the French have been doing Airbnb for ages, longer than Airbnb existed. It's called Gîte de France, G-I-T-E-S de France, and it's French people who are renting out, like usually like a guest house or a room or something along the lines of Airbnb. But it's a good deal. It's beautiful homes. Our host, Sandrine, and her husband, oh, by the way, this is hilarious. We didn't rent a car while we were there. So, because they've got a lot of trains, and we decided, we're not going to rent a car. We're just going to do the trains and going to do the bikes. So we rode our bikes everywhere. We rented bikes. But we were at the train station in this little tiny town, and we thought, well, let's get a cab. There were no cabs. It's like that in the middle of nowhere. There was like no cabs. Right. So I had to call our hosts, and she's like, "Oh yes, no problem. I sent my husband." This dude shows up. I mean, the French stereotype is like tiny little cars, right? Like little Renaults or whatever. This dude shows up in a Dodge 1500 pickup truck.
Wow.
Lifted with huge wheels. It's been tricked out for the Paris-Dakar car race, which this guy apparently does. So he shows up. He basically shows up in like a monster truck, and we're like, "My God, what are we getting into?" But he was like super nice. Sandrine made us cookies and cakes like every day. We had like cookies and cakes waiting for us. It was like awesome.
Amazing.
The house was like a little cottage on their property, which is like beautifully kept. They had a pool, so every day we'd come back dead tired from riding our bikes, and we would swim in the pool for hours, and just float around and enjoy this life that we have, even though there's challenges. As you know, I'm like currently looking for work, so yeah. but we decided like you only live once, and work will come. We'll get that taken care of, but we really need to live, and part of living is traveling and learning about other cultures. And I think my wife has really got a lot out of it. She works her butt off. She's working, and she's keeping us afloat, and she's the rock, Kathy Blanco, care manager, and she so she got a lot out of this. She got
You
a
guys
new
look so
perspective on
happy
life.
in those pictures.
Yeah,
like, I
we
can see
were.
it, like you guys all look really, really, really content. And I agree with you. I think it's something about leaving that you come back and you come back refreshed, and it opens certain doors for you. I've always found that like whenever I've been unemployed a few times, and every time I go away, when I come back, things happen. You know what I mean? I think it's the way you look at it. Like I think every time I've been unemployed like maybe 3 times, and every time it was a period of growth. You know what I mean? And when you're working, you're so busy, and then you still got so much. No one could just work. You got side hustles. This is a side hustle, right? We're doing so much. So those vacations are important. I'm going to DR this coming Saturday. But by the time this air, I think I'll be back. So I'll be a few shades darker with a nice tan. But
That's
yeah,
what happened
man,
to me. I came back. I came back bien quemado.
Yeah, no, those vacations they're good for the soul. My mother likes to say para botar el golpe, right? To like if you got an injury, to get rid of the soreness. You know what I mean? And that's what that's for, like recharging the battery. So that's great. Right now, I'm only going to DR right now. I don't want to go nowhere else. But it's great to get out of here for a little bit.
Absolutely. And then when you come back, like you said, you get refreshed. And actually, when you return, especially if you're gone for like 2 weeks, I don't know when the last time I did more than 2 weeks was, but when you come back, you feel like you're on vacation again, because you're back and you're seeing everything that changed around you, or you're like getting back acclimated to the pace of life where you live and the people. So yeah, like our first day back, we just like chilled, went out to the bakery on 181st Street and picked up a sandwich and went to the park and chilled out there and
Nice.
ate it. And there was some like, it was weird. We were at Bennett Park having our sandwiches. There was like a group of aerialists, really like gymnast type people, like with like I'm going to kill this. I don't know what it's called, but it's a stripper pole. Let's call it what it's like
Right.
but it was a stripper pole with like a circle on top, and they're like climbing on it, and like, they're not stripping. They're like gymnasts, aerialists.
Right.
And they had like
Well,
a
look at
group,
you, yeah, that's
just
interesting.
like, it was cool. So it felt like we were like still on vacation. And but then we saw some of the changes here on. I don't know if you've seen. There's like a new coffee shop on Cabrini between 180th and 1st.
The bike store, like for bikes.
Yeah, it's called it's called Breakaway Cafe. Yeah, and me and Kathy and Dante popped in there, and we met it's a family business. They're from,
Nice.
the owner lives on Fort Wash. The daughter was working, and she's, I guess she just graduated high school, and it was
Nice.
really nice. It's kind of cool. It's like, we got a lot of
repair
bikers
bikes.
here.
They repair bikes as well as a cafe, right? And that's great because the Norfolk is right there, so they should get a lot of those clients. It's really, on that block is only 181 Cabrini, which is a restaurant. So that's a really smart idea.
Yeah. Our sponsor, 181 Cabrini.
Right.
So yeah, they I don't think that they're a competition with 181 Cabrini. I think it's like an add-on rather than a.
Yeah, exactly. Agree 100%.
Because like,
More-
yeah, they do some food and they do some coffee. You can't get in there. You can't go get yourself like some little eats. But mainly, like, they're also, I think they sell. They're a Trek bike shop. So the brand
Right.
Trek, they sell all their bikes. So
Yeah.
and their
I think they do repair
gears
as well.
and
So
stuff like
it's awesome for
yeah.
for
So it's
people using
cool.
bikes.
It's really cool.
Smart business.
It's really cool to see that. I was really psyched to see some of that small business growth in the neighborhood happening, and that it's local. You know, like the guy who owns it lives on Fort Washington. You know, I think that's really cool. And his whole family was in there helping. Yeah, check it out. Give them a shot. Give him a look. I think it's going to be a great addition. And like you said, while we were in there, some guy came off the bridge and pulled right up on his bike. He was all spandexed out, like you see those bikers. Serious. Like you know, they annoy me when I'm trying to walk across the bridge and they're like all up my
some
butt.
Of them could be jerks. Some of them could be jerks. They're so aggressive.
Some of them they can be. It's like I know that you're training for, you know, the Tour de France, but we're trying to get to Fort Lee for some dumplings, you know.
For real. That's hilarious.
Led, I think now it's time to take a short pause so that we can pay some of the bills.
You want to tell them a little about donations and how they could help the show?
Absolutely. We can't do this without contributions from our viewers. You're going to see a QR code which you can scan. You can make a contribution towards Uptown Voices. It's going to be helpful for us to elevate our production. We have dreams and aspirations of doing live shows. We have dreams and aspirations of being on location at our various cultural institutions, and we can't do that without contributions from viewers and listeners like you. And we also can't do that without our sponsors. And this pilot season, we are lucky to have a great sponsor, 181 Cabrini. It's our neighborhood bistro. Both Led and I are just steps away from 181 Cabrini, and we love it. 181 Cabrini is located right there on that corner of 181 and Cabrini, just steps
181 and Cabrini.
Just steps away from the bridge. So yeah, I love it. Led, you and I were there the other night.
Yeah. And we also met there for the first time. You and I, the first time we met, we had like lunch there, and it's my local bar now. Like, since you and I both live like right around. It's my local bar. I spend a lot of times there. James Lee, the owner, is just an incredible restaurateur. Right, I think he's a great guy. He's super funny, but like the food is on point. Please hit up 181 Cabrini. It is really one of my favorite spots. 181 Cabrini, pull up. That's my spot. Show them love and tip well.
And order the nachos. Those are on point.
The sangria is amazing. Everything in there. You have to try the coconut bread pudding. They got coconut, they got chocolate, and now they got banana, but the coconut, outstanding. So like I said, it's the attention to detail for me. It's a great neighborhood joint. Thank you to James and 181 Cabrini for sponsoring this episode. And, you know, if you want to sponsor, holla at my boy. You know what I mean? Let's make it happen. You know what I mean? But yeah, without further ado, though, let's get to it.
But before we do that, I just want to say one thing. We're going to have a redemption code at the end of this episode, which you can bring to 181 Cabrini for a special treat.
Let's go.
So what I miss in New York City, there was like earthquakes. There was like shooting in Times Square. Like,
yeah, it was, you know, it's New York, and I don't really remember it.
New York stuff.
Everything happens. Yeah, New York stuff. Who knows? You know, we continue with the worst mayor ever in New York City, right? Like, and him and Cuomo fighting it out still. It's ridiculous.
I saw the recent polls.
I cannot wait for the election.
Yeah, the recent polls had him at 7%. That's not good.
It's clown, but he actually, it's just, it's funny because when we talked about it with Freynet, right? Remember we was talking about it, and how he was like, and I wrote a piece I posted, I think yesterday, about how Eric Adams is good for New York, right? Except not as mayor, you know, more like a court jester. If there was an equivalent of a court jester, he'll be perfect, because he said he's the Biden of Brooklyn. He just says whatever. He just comes out his face. So I don't think, and it's funny because he almost makes you look back at de Blasio with nostalgia, right? Like,
yeah,
he's been so inept that you're like, man, like, wow.
I mean, being mayor of New York is, okay, I'm not defending this guy at all. So more than anything, I might be defending de Blasio. But being mayor of New York is like the hardest job. I don't know.
I can see that.
You know, it's you're never gonna make people happy. So, you know, anybody who wants to be mayor of New York either has a screw loose or, I don't know, it's a giant heart. I'm not sure which ones it is. But yeah, being mayor of New York is not the easiest job in the world.
But that's why I'm so excited about Zoran. We got to get him on the show, man. You know what I mean? Like, I think it'll be great.
Yeah.
It really does feel like he has the best of intentions. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I talk to so many people, and then like they tell you like, oh, like they act like New York is perfect right now, and it's just like it's just perfectly fine-tuned machine that there's no errors, and here comes Zoran and the communists to destroy it. And it's just such a stupid argument. Have you seen New York City where it is right now? It's the worst it's ever been that I remember, right? Like, this goes back to my childhood during the crack era, right? Like, New York is not where it's like, so it's not running perfectly. Things are not good. There's, I hate to say there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, and I think we need to change things, especially with Trump in power, right? Zoran talks about Trump proofing New York, and I think it needs to go beyond that. Like, I think we need to provide like an alternative, right? Another way of doing things, right? Like, so if Zoran could come through and with the people's help, make those changes, really make people's lives better, without having to resort to being animals to one another like Trump wants to do, I think we could show a way forward. You know what I mean? I think that his victory could change, hopefully, if there is even a 2028, right, election.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
I am too. I just saw my socials some video of Staten Islanders.
Oh my God, I saw that too.
Against Zoran. I mean, like, it's sad. It's sad. It's just sad that people are resorting to such like racism. First of all, like just unabashed racism against Zoran. They don't understand. They don't understand what it means to be a democratic socialist. Like, they're trying to paint it as communism, which it's not.
Even if it was, though. Even if it was.
Even if it was, but it's not. But it's not, though. Like, it's not. Yeah. Like, let's just like, I mean, you're right. Even if it was, there's no call for it, but it's not. And they're just like using that. It's not even a dog whistle anymore. It's just blatant racism. They're telling them to go back from where he came from. I mean, the whole thing is ugly. Zoran's message is interesting because he speaks to that community, especially in Staten Island, who did vote for Trump and said, "What's he doing for you?" And I don't see what he's doing for them. And yet there's this real visceral rage at seeing a person like Zoran running for mayor, given the latitude to express himself the way that he expresses himself, and to see the pickup that he's gotten. And so, like, one of the things that I challenge Zoran to do, and maybe he's just, keeping his powder dry right now, but I really do I want to see him, and I want to see him call on people to help and to be a part of his campaign. And once he gets elected, or when he gets elected, I want to see that grassroots coalition of people that he's been able to put together really come into play and really push some of the boundaries, some good ideas. You're right, Let. There's a lot that needs to be done in the city to improve the city. We can't just let things run like they're running.
And those videos you talked about too, it reminded me like those videos of when King came to the North, when he came to Chicago or even in New York. I think he got stabbed in Harlem, I think it was. But it reminded me of those kind of videos. And it's like, it's 2025. These people are apoplectic about a person of color in their neighborhood when he's actually going out there to show solidarity, right? To say, hey, look, your plight and my plight are the same. Right?
Yeah.
And it's weird too. And I don't know if you know, it's like Cuomo has just been so disgusting, so that's why I say no Cuomo, you know what I mean? Because he's been so disgusting the way he's been campaigning, oh, he's a rich boy. Like, who are you? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're like, it's disgusting. I don't know if you saw, he had a commercial, right, where this was before, like, and he's giving someone like a boost, like on the car dies, the battery dies, and he gets out his car and he connects the connectors are here, and I'm like, come on, man, he would never do that. Like
look what I can do.
Please.
I mean, yeah, the guy is like the definition of nepotism. Whole argument of Zoran being a rich kid. Like, first of all, I don't know how you run for mayor if you don't have money, and Zoran doesn't even come close to the kind of money that Cuomo had.
Cuomo spent them magnitudes.
Spent, I think it was like nearly $1 billion or something crazy like that. Like, think about, millions upon millions of dollars. Like, think about all the good that could have been done, that could have been used for, rather than, flooding the airwaves with Cuomo commercials and not seeing Cuomo in person anywhere just like, I guess he was chilling wherever he chills at. But yeah,
And
I
you know,
think
it's funny you say that because I remember, during that the primary, some of the commercials were crazy that I was getting. I saw one where it was like it was animated and it was Zoran as like a Broadway singer, and it was like so weird but so like slick. And I'm like, they spent money. That campaign threw money upon money upon money at everything, and they still got killed.
they got
And then
killed.
to do it again, right? And then for Eric and Andrew to cancel each other out, like it's like a clown show. But it's amazing how if you look at the right wing press, I think it was what's her name, Laura Ingraham, was saying, hey, New York elite money, get that money together. We can't, and the tyrant, talking about nullifying and deporting him. But even the Democratic Party, right? Like let's be honest, right? Like let's throw some shade now. Right? Where is the endorsements for the democratically elected, democratically chosen primary winner, Zoran, right? Where's Schumer? Where's Chuck Toomer? Chuck Toomer is what I call him. Where's he at?
He's
right?
been very quiet.
Where's Deepak Shakur? Hakeem Jeffries, where's he at? He hasn't said anything, right?
Yeah, they've been very, very quiet, and it's
I give it to Espaillat because he came out and he endorsed them. But where's the rest of them? Barack hasn't done it yet, right? So it's like, it's so funny that they could fight so hard, supposedly, against Trump, which they don't, and then they don't endorse the man that won the primary.
it's sad. I mean, it's more than sad. Sad is not a word that even comes close to describing the state of affairs of the Democrats, the top Democrats, who still are just like quaking in their boots to avoid endorsing somebody who it's clear that the people of New York City, at least the Democrats in New York City for sure, are interested in seeing become their mayor. Those endorsements need to come. They can't stay quiet. Cuomo is running as an independent, and by staying quiet, you're basically endorsing Cuomo because that's your guy. And I don't know what he's got on these folks that they're not coming out for Zoran, or what they have against Zoran. Let's hear it. If you got something against Zoran, let it be known. Don't just stay quiet, because this quiet is not going to work. That's the thing. We were talking about Staten Island and how horrible the reception was, and how brave and how good it was for Zoran to go out there, because he's trying to communicate with these folks and let them know, like,
exactly.
I'm here for you. So I guess what I would say is, like, we also, rather than fanning the flames of hate and of misunderstanding and misinformation, it's true that was horrible what we saw on social media. But at the same time, there's still time, right? If Zoran can keep going over there despite what the reception was like, and can keep fighting, hopefully he'll get through to some of these folks, and they'll respect his chutzpah, like that he's actually there for them. So what I say is, keep going to Staten Island, keep trying to communicate with these folks. I know that there's a solid nexus of people that are just not ever going to hear it, but that's not everybody. And it's hard sometimes for me to like stay with this in my heart, and I try really hard to try to keep it in my heart. This loud group doesn't necessarily represent everybody. I think that when you factor in everybody who's out there, who's seeing what's happening, I think that there's a huge amount of people who are like, wait a minute, I got bamboozled, and that's not really what I'm looking for. Now, you may disagree with this. I think you probably will disagree with that, but I think that there is hope for some of the folks who are sort of like thinking, well, let's see what this Trump guy has, or let's see what this like MAGA movement is all about, that they'll start to recognize that, you know what, it wasn't about what they said it was about, and we're getting.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to definitely be some people that's going to happen too. But I think, a lot more people they're going to dig in. They're going to become even, worse. They're more deplorable, right? And that's the thing, we can't lie to ourselves either, right? Like, some of these things are awful, right? And for the cheerleading of ICE raids, when you're Latino, right? Like, that's hard to like forgive, right? Like, Well, that's what you put. You're good. Are you happy about that? Like, so I'm saying, yeah, I agree with you. I hope that some people could change their minds. That'd be great. But I also think that, like, if you voted for this, I don't want bad things to happen to you, but you are responsible, right? Like we may not get out of this, right? Like that's not a given, right? Like we are in the beginning of a dictatorship. This is a dictatorship that has begun. Right? We don't know what comes next. We don't know if there's going to be a 2028. And I'll say this right. So yesterday was my birthday. Yeah, my wife, Eileen Fuentes, my better half, she surprised me. We went to City Winery, like in Pier, whatever, like on 14th West Side. I didn't know where we were going, but it was a really cool event. It was like the Don Lemon show live, right? Yeah, and then he had like special guests, and it was him and D.L. Hughley, who I really love. I really admire D.L. Hughley. I think he's super brilliant. He went from just like a stand-up comic who was just one of the people that could kill you. Like, just he could make fun of you, diss you right on the spot brilliantly. But he really evolved to be like a deep thinker. And, I really do appreciate his takes on so many things. So it was really cool, you know what I mean? And I think D.L. Hughley was amazing. But it was interesting because I didn't really know this, but Don Lemon has like a following, right? Like when he got let go of CNN, he kept his money and he kept the show, and he does like a daily show, right? So he has a following. I think they call themselves Lemon Heads, and that's cool. And, and I'm not hating on Don Lemon. Like, I'm glad, that instead of like, he could have gone right, like Chris Cuomo did, right? Like he could have become a right-wing asshole, and he didn't do that, right? He went further left, and I'm happy for that. But what I'm trying to say, like yesterday, at least listening to we had a Q&A afterwards, and to listen to the people talk, like we got a temperature check, my wife and I feel like most of us well-meaning people, the base of this party, right, are super unaware of what we're living through right now, right? And I think we keep thinking about, we got 3 more years of this, don't worry, to the midterms, and it's like everything is being eroded, right? Like, who knows what will be when we get there, right? If this is 6 months in, what'll be left then, right? And the gerrymandering, the redistricting, right? Like the getting people rid of people, the DC, having troops in DC, right? Like, I just think that it was a great event. I had a great time. I laughed. She bought me a nice bottle of wine. It was beautiful. But I felt like no one brought up that and I wanted to talk at the end, but I didn't get a chance to, but that we're right now at the beginnings of a dictatorship, and Trump is an authoritarian, and Trump is the most powerful man on the planet right now, right? That should give everyone what's happening to life in 2025. I still think everyone's like, ooh, do. And that's my one thing. So I had a great time, but I also feel like I think things are way worse than people think they are.
Well, first of all, happy birthday.
Thank you.
It's like a mixed bag there, because I mean, I think you're right. I think you're right in that we're in a really, really dangerous place in history right now for democracy. I don't know where we're going to be at the end of the Trump administration. Really don't. I think that Trump taking over the DC Police Department is like he's doing like a trial run of how would this all work.
Exactly.
Where would I plug?
Right.
Where would I plug things in? From what I've seen, he can't legally do it in other cities. He can do it in Washington, D.C., but Congress does have the opportunity to stop it if they vote on it. But who cares what he can legally do or what he can legally not do? He does so many things without having legal authority that I think for everybody who's sort of like sitting back thinking, oh, this can't happen here. Well, maybe that's true, but what if he tries? What are we going to do about it? And I don't have the answer. I really don't. That's beyond my abilities. I don't know what the answer is. But like we say here on the show on Uptown Voices, it's community, I guess. That's the only answer that we can bring to it. And that's the reason why we're doing this show, is because we want to make sure that at least we're strengthening our community, and that we're giving airtime to the people within our community that are strengthening their community, making it better. People that are looking for solutions to improve it. Whether it's housing, whether it's drugs, whether it's people picking up their dog poop. Like, come on, what's the deal with that? We got to do better, man. Like, that's like, that's like one of those little things that I'm not a broken windows kind of guy, but for me, that's like one of those little things that like you just should be able to do as a dog owner. That's part of your responsibility.
I was, so I walk, I have a dog, Izzy, a little Havanese, right? So I was walking him, right? And I always pick up the poop like you're supposed to, right? And this old school Dominican man goes to me, "Usted es el único hispano que hace eso." And I was like, oh, like it was just funny because it's true. Like, we should be picking up the poop. That's gross. It just brings more vermin and to the area, and it's nasty. Yeah, for sure, man.
And so, okay, you got me on this dog poop thing. And then this guy tells you, que tú eres el único hispano que hace eso. Or I'm Hispano. I would pick it up too. But do you think that it actually is like a cultural thing? Do you think that it's actually, or do you think it's like something else?
It is a little cultural, yeah. Like I think some of it for sure. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. I try to pick up. You need model good behavior, but people need to pick up after their dogs. Stop the nonsense. You know what I mean? We need to get rid of that.
Yeah, and you're littering and all that stuff. All that stuff. We need to do better. I do know that there was like there are groups out there. I think there was like a Dykeman cleanup thing that happened.
That's what's really cool. There's a bunch of like different cleanups that happen. Different groups put them together. We always share them on social media. So that's that's super important that the community gets involved. For sure.
Maybe we should bring them on. We should bring them on and talk about when's the next one and what's going on and how can we do it, because it's like it's one of those things that like it makes you feel better when things are like not with dog
and
poop
I think and then we got to start working those community muscles now, right? Because it's funny because I feel like for the last 10 years, right, where the Trump era, I've been ruining people's like the coolest parties ever talking about doomsday shit with Trump, right? Because I knew he was going to win the first time. I knew he was going to win the second time, and I knew how bad it was going to be. You know what I mean? But
we're just trying to have a good time.
Right, but it's like that's what I do on this podcast. But I coined a phrase on our last Black and Blanco, right, where I said, enjoy it before Trump destroys it, right? And that's really, like, that's not a lie. Like, one thing I want to do when I come back from the Dominican Republic is I want to go to the African American Museum in D.C., right? Because that shit is going to get shut down, right? That whole thing is an insult to Trump and to MAGA, right? So that you have the Latino Museum, all those museums that exist for people of color, go to them now, right? Like enjoy those things now because they will not be the same. They will change, and you're going to be like, damn, I should have gone when it was a thing, right? Like even like the Smithsonian had an exhibit about impeachment, right? And they were forced to remove about Trump's 2 impeachments. Like, that's crazy. That's, that dictatorship, right? That's what that is, right?
Yeah.
That's where we're at. So
and the national
before Trump destroys it.
And the national parks, he forced the national parks to take down anything that was like disparaging of American history. There's plenty to be disparaging about with American history, especially when you talk about national parks and Native Americans. Indigenous Americans.
It's anti-truth. It's so ridiculous how they made the word woke and DEI. Like it's ridiculous. Those are the barbarians are not at the gate. The barbarians are in power.
Yeah,
and they're not going to lose that power easily. So I just think that's why community is the answer. Let's build those community muscles. Let's do things together. Hey, you're doing this, I do this. Let's do this together.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna be more important than ever.
Well, let's start. Yeah, we're doing this, but let's get those. Let's get those Dykeman cleanup guys and gals on the show, or at least connected to us, so that we can start talking about this, because it's like we are trying to talk about a lot of the issues, and we talk about the drugs and I mean, gosh, but maybe another place to be, maybe a lower bar is like, let's connect on just like garbage. Like, clean up your garbage, pick up after your dog, and let's get started there. And then we can move on to, let's try not to become Philadelphia. You're talking about like mayors and leadership. I mean, I see what's going on in Philadelphia with the drugs in Kensington, and I'm like, how are they just letting that happen? Like, what?
I think you reach a point where it's just too much and you lose control.
I've seen those videos on social. I don't know I know that that's real, but I don't know when, like social can be so odd. Like sometimes they show things from like years ago. Sometimes they show things
No, but that's
from
Kensington right now.
right
Kensington
now, but
right now
that's
is destroyed.
it's just. I mean, I don't mean to demean it, but it is like The Walking Dead. It does look like scenes from The Walking Dead. It really does. It's crazy, and I really, really hope that we can get a hold of the situation uptown before it turns into something that's like that, because it's starting to look eerily similar in some parts of our neighborhood.
I agree. I saw someone's video. I forgot who it was, and it was in the Heights on Instagram, and it was a picture of one of the drug addicts out here, just laying, like knocked out on the floor, but when you come out the building, so it's almost like you have to almost step over him to go about your day. Like you have very little space to walk around, and I seen the guy, and he was almost naked, and it's like you feel like would this be allowed downtown, right? Or is it just us, right? That's the thing that's kind of annoying. Is it just us that has to be the victims of this? You know what I mean? It feels like
it's interesting they put that, because it's interesting that you asked that, because when the Lower East Side in the 70s was going through its horribleness, that was us. That wasn't the Lower East Side that it is now. That was us, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, immigrants, brown people living in the Lower East Side, getting burned out of the buildings and dealing with the drug addicts that, again, weren't really brown people. One of the things that we need to recognize is that what we're dealing with here is also the ills of other communities that are being presented to us. Like, a lot of these folks come from outside of New York City, and their small towns don't want them there, and they're putting them on a bus with bus fare and sending them to New York City and sending them to Philadelphia and sending them to other cities because they don't want to deal with it. And I don't want to make this an us versus them situation in terms of like dealing with health, but I think small towns and rural communities also disadvantaged, but they need to step up somehow.
Yeah, it's I spend a lot of time in my car driving, looking for parking. At all times I'm always driving and I'm always walking in this neighborhood. Like, people know me, they see me out here. I'll be outside, and I've seen the changes. Really in the last 10 years, right? You see where like it's a lot of heroin addicts in this neighborhood now that you didn't see. It's hordes, and it's changing. And we're at the beginning of something, right? And it's funny, like as a kid, I was a little kid when crack came about, right? I kind of noticed the differences, right? Because it was like we went from being like graffiti writers, and all the leaders of the graffiti writers became crack dealers, and it was like a abrupt switch. But I was a child, right? I didn't understand, what was happening. But you saw the neighborhood deteriorate in front of your eyes, right? That's what's happening right now. It's deteriorating, like right before our eyes, and there's this explosion. And if nothing is done, if defenses are not put up to keep this neighborhood what it is, you can lose a lot chunks of this, right? Like it's a process, but it's happening. They're like, I always have my beef with the only two safe injection sites in the country being uptown. I think that's crazy. But there's one that's right here on 180th, and it's created basically a heroin corridor from 180th in Amsterdam all the way to Cabrini. Okay? So there's people coming to buy heroin all times of day and night. It wasn't like when I was a kid, when to buy a bag of weed, you had to go in a basement, talk to a window and say, like a secret password. And now the dudes sell out their car. It's a parked car for heroin, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's the dude that knocks on he gives them the money. So they're not even scared, right? So it's created this incentive for people to sell heroin, right? Because you have a captive audience of addicts. So yeah, I think it's a real problem, and I think it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be a multi-pronged address. Where if this is going to be here, if you're not going to put harm reduction everywhere, then have more policing, have more, have more rules. Because or even more funding so that they can stay open longer. Because when they close, whatever time they close, those folks aren't going anywhere. They're staying right here. But again, if it's so important to have, put them everywhere.
Yeah. No,
put them every 10 blocks. If they're so important, why put them here with very little community input, done at the stroke of midnight by the Blasio as he left his term, right? We learned on this podcast, and that seems very underhanded, right? So it feels underhanded too now, and it feels like what happened, right? Like this is the result of.
You know, we've talked a lot about housing in this podcast, and you've brought up the theory that I think it's plausible. I think it's possible that the heroin epidemic is a Trojan horse for
I think
for
not the
gentrification.
heroin, but it's harm reduction is a Trojan horse for gentrification, right? So it's
So
the
yeah,
idea of harm reduction.
explain that
but
a
then-
little bit.
So I just think harm reduction in theories. Who could you? How could you be against harm reduction, right? But harm reduction for whom, right? The problem with the approach, right? So again, you only have 2 safe injection sites in the whole country. Only 2. One in El Barrio and one in Washington Heights, right? So there's only 2 of those. So if that's the case, then you're creating only here. There's no more anywhere else, right? So the fact is that by creating it here, you create a lot of pressure, to move people, right? Like if you live there, if you're an old person that's paying $600, they want to get rid of you, right? So I think that once you get rid of the people, then they'll get rid of that place, right? It won't be necessary, right? And
So-
again, it's doing tremendous damage to the community. Every day on my corner, there's somebody's going through that garbage, just chucking like this. Right? So even if you are like you're in the car, like even if people are doing the right thing and throwing away their garbage in the right place,
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
is going through it like this
And just
you know what
tossing
I
it
mean?
out.
And that happens every day on my corner.
But walk
And I
me-
always say, like, I grew up on Wadsworth. I used to look across the way from my window, and I used to look towards Fort Wash. And I could see Fort Tryon Park, and I used to always look at, like, Fort Wash. You live in Fort Wash. You made it, you know what I mean? And now I live in Fort Wash, and it's not the Fort Wash, that I used to see. It's really getting bad, and I think it's something that we're on the cusp of something. This is the beginnings of something like the crack era to be, especially as people get poorer, especially as the cuts snap, especially as things get leaner. Like you need to focus on this. And there's also a lot of young addicts from here too, right? There's young dudes that were into the lean or the opiates, right? And then now they can't afford the opiates anymore. They can't afford the Oxycontin, the $75 a pill. They can't afford that. A hit of heroin is 10, you know what I mean? So let me do that. So there's a lot of young dudes out here too that they look like they don't even know who they are.
Yeah, well, they
So
don't.
it's
They
heartbreaking
don't know.
every day. Like, so I feel for them too, but we're not helping them by creating these. We're not helping any. I think it needs to be not a addict-centric approach. It needs to be a community-centric approach. If you're focused on your clients and they're the addicts, and that's your motive, well, yeah. So what does that mean? Like, for example, one of the stats that they're on point always says, "Oh, we reversed 500 overdoses," right? But what does that really mean, right? Because some of those overdoses are the same person multiple times, right? But they never give you the stat of how many people have stopped doing heroin, because that's not what they're not stopping you from doing heroin. They're encouraging. It's counterintuitive. And again, if this is the right way of doing things, do it everywhere. Don't just do it in my hood. Don't just do it
Yeah.
in town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where it feels weird.
Absolutely. No, I'm with you. I used to be, I still like you. I think we both sort of like really do feel for the addicts and what they're going through. It's not like casting shame or anything or accusations. People become addicts because of bad decisions or whatever the case may be. Maybe they're hurt and they had to take painkillers in the past and they no longer have insurance or whatever the case may be, that they're addicts, right? Maybe they did get high off their own supply and they became addicts, who knows? But I'm with you that it should not just be an addict centric way of doing approach. It should be community centric. But I just wanted to get back to your idea of the Trojan horse for gentrification, because I'm looking at Lower East Side, New York City, Manhattan, Lower East Side, Manhattan. And I think that that's like possibly a very good comparison to when you're talking about the Trojan horse for gentrification, because Lower East Side, Manhattan was a huge heroin like hot spot in the 70s, and it was a terrible neighborhood, worse than we are currently, but going in the direction of where we could be headed if we don't really get together. But nowadays, Lower East Side is like trendy, expensive. That's where the models and the musicians and all the rock stars and also the bankers live now. Like they're downtown. So how does that happen? Because what do you think is the trajectory? It gets to that horribleness where buildings are burned out and there's vacant lots everywhere, and
No, I mean, I don't
people
think
are.
it has to. It doesn't have to get that far. I just think that you discuss people enough to get them out of here, and it accelerates the displacement, right? Because you at some point people are gonna get tired. Like, why am I living like this? Like, why am I like I grew up in this neighborhood? I never had to step over. Even during the crack era, I didn't have to step over people's bodies. You know what I mean? This has never been this bad. So it's gonna make people leave. You know, it accelerates that. And again, it's funny, right? Because people. I'm gonna tell you a little quick story that happened to me yesterday, right? So yesterday, I went to go get my car, right? And a heroin addict came up to me, right? And he was asking for. He said he was super hungry. He hadn't eaten. I knew he was a heroin addict, right? But I was kind of like, I felt really bad for him. He's an older man. He said, I'm 71, you know, I haven't eaten. I'm so hungry. And right now, I was like, I didn't really have much money. I had 2.5, so I gave him one. Yo, Octavio, but yo, I gave that dude that money, right? He took it like, it was not even like it was like, and he like didn't even say like thank you, and he was walking with a cane. So he told me the story. As soon as I gave him the money, he took that. He wasn't even using the cane. He was like, I'm gonna get heroin. I'm happy, and I felt like a sucker. You know what I mean? Like I felt like because he just gave me I'm hungry, and like, oh wow, you're hungry. Let me help. I've eaten. And then you could tell it wasn't about food. You know, it's just another example of what life has become up here. You know what I mean? And that's a great example. And I never thought of that, right, with the Lower East Side, right? Like what it was and what it is now. And I do think that that hollowing out is allowed, right? It's allowed. Let's get these people out of here. Let's clear this out. Let's whatever it takes. And that's how it feels like. This feels like a plan.
Well, it's
And
already
things are
happening.
deteriorating.
It's already happening with the housing prices, right? Rent up here is ridiculous. For a one bedroom, you're paying damn near $3,000. I think is the going rate for somebody who's just arrived, who's not, rent stabilized or any of that stuff. So a lot of people are already moving out to the Bronx and to upstate. People are getting out of the city, going out to Jersey. A lot of folks going out to Jersey. So it's already happening. And then when you add on to it the discomfort that is happening, at least in this general area with the drug addiction, it does make it so that people are not going to want to live here, because why would you want to live here? It's a shame, and I think there's plenty of reasons to want to live here, and
Love my hood.
I still want to
my
live
hood.
here. I love it
Love
here,
my hood.
and I know you love it here too.
But I'll
So-
say this: I kind of want to get out of this little chunk. I want to get out the heroin zone. You know what I mean? Like I want to move like further up. You know, I lived in Inwood before. I really like the Seaman area. Like I like that whole Inwood Hill Park area, because this is a little too much right here right now. Like I feel like too much in the thick of things. But yeah, I love the hood. I don't want to leave the hood. I want to stay here. I want to continue to build community, but I just want to get away from, because again, I don't think, just like we were talking, people just don't know the severity. People don't have their ear to the street in the way they should, because we all kind of live disconnected lives, you know what I mean? And we're stuck in our own worlds. But I think we need to open our eyes for the whole, locally, nationally, go globally. Open your eyes. Like, look what the world, where we're going.
Talk to each other. That's one of the things that I hope.
For real.
I hope that people who are listening will push themselves out of their comfort zone and talk to your neighbors. Really, just make an effort. But whatever you can do to just have conversations, say hi, good morning. I know that
That's right.
people in New York, they always say, "Oh, we don't even know our neighbors." That is not true. That is not true. When I first
That's
moved
right.
uptown,
Spread love is the Uptown way.
exactly,
That's for real.
man. That's the
For
way
real.
it is. So, like, if all this stuff that we're talking about is terrible and is a problematic and it's scary, but the solution is in front of our eyes. We just need to, be brave and talk to one another, and try not to be scared of each other, and just like reach out to each other. Make sure that your neighbors are okay. We when we were away for 2 weeks, one of our neighbors took care of our cats.
Nice.
And we take care of her cat. And we have a little chat. Actually, this is where, like, we were talking about social and real life. We have a WhatsApp building chat. And it was on the chat that she was like, "Hey, is anybody available to watch my cats?" And we volunteered. And then when we left, we're like, "Hey, can you watch her?" And so, if you are able to organize something like that in your own building, do it. get your people, get your building
Make it
together, and
happen. Community is the answer, for real.
community is the answer. And it's hard, and it's like, especially after being locked up, in the pandemic for 2-3 years, those muscles have atrophied.
For real.
But we need to exercise them. And whatever we can do here, we're gonna do. Definitely, like, drop us a line on social, comment on our podcast. We want to make sure that we can know who you are, what's important to you, and that we can elevate those ideas and include you if we can in the things that we're doing. So that's my invitation to everybody.
y'all.
Just like,
Another Black and Blanco in the books.
that's right.
All right, y'all.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Enjoy
brother. We'll talk
enjoy your vacation.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk soon.
Right.
Thanks for joining us in this episode of Uptown Voices, brought to you by 181 Cabrini, your neighborhood bistro just steps away from the North Walk of the George Washington Bridge. Use the code Uptown Voices Season 1 for your discount. And to stay up to date on the latest in Uptown, you can follow Uptown Collective on Instagram, Facebook, and X. If you're watching Uptown Voices on YouTube, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and to give us a like. And don't forget, we also need financial contributions from listeners like you to produce, improve, and expand our content. To contribute, please scan the QR code on the screen or visit www.livingamericana.com. That's living without a G. Until next time, this has been Uptown Voices.